Good morning. It's hard to believe, but counting Holy Week observances, the Fountains has posted over 20 virtual celebrations online since March. We want to thank everyone for their great feedback and participation. And we hope that these virtual gatherings continue to be an inspiration and a meaningful way of staying connected to your church family. As we move forward, we want to encourage you to become a part of the weekly celebrations too. We'd like to have a variety of people reading the different parts of the service. And with today's technology, it doesn't matter where you are. Just send Denise an email at welcome@weputlovefirst.org to let her know that you'd like to be part of the effort. And we can help you with any tech questions. If I can do this, you certainly can. I also want to remind you about the 21-day Racial Equity Challenge. Even if you don't participate in the Zoom meetings, you can go to our website, www.weputlovefirst.org, to find out more about the challenge and how you can be part of this important effort. Thanks so much for being part of the extended Fountains family, and we're glad you're joining us today.
Join me as we get in the Spirit. We come with our whole selves, prepared to encounter the God of new life.
May we fill with our hearts.
May we reason with our minds.
And may our Creator be the source for both.
Let us celebrate honoring the Spirit who strengthens us.
Let us build a house where love can dwell and all can safely live. A place where saints and children tell how hearts learn to forgive. Built of hopes and dreams and visions, rock of faith and vault of grace. Here the love of Christ shall end division.
together. As followers of Jesus,
We put love first.
As we enter into this time of quiet and meditation, I want to encourage you to extend the reach of this time by referring to our Joys and Concerns email that is shared with the rest of the Fountains community each week. Our Joys and Concerns go out both on Monday and is updated and shared again in eStreams each Friday. So if you have a prayer request that you'd like included, give the office a call or email welcome at weputlovefirst.org. You're also encouraged to join us for our Wellspring Wednesday time of sharing and support each week. And if you're feeling like a time of confidential conversation and prayer would be helpful, I encourage you to reach out to our Stephen ministers at stephenministry@weputlovefirst.org. Let us know what's happening with you so we can be supportive of one another. The world is unsettled and full of uncertainty. I hear from many of you and know from my own experience that the combination of quarantine, the spike of cases here in Arizona, the economic and political unrest, and the unpredictability every day seems to bring is wearing heavily on our lives. So I invite you to be intentional about setting all of that aside, to take a moment with me to just center down, to take a deep breath and let go of the chatter and distractions of the day and simply be open to the mystery of the divine, to breathe deep, to settle in to the here and the now, and join in singing or just being mindful of the words of our centering song.
Open our hearts, open our minds, open our lives to you, O loving God. Open our hearts, open our minds, open our lives to you, O loving God. Open our hearts.
let's join together in our unison act of awareness. Spirit of wisdom, beyond our understanding, we open our hearts and we open our minds to your leading. Turn us away from our tendency to accept the inertia of the status quo as wisdom. Strengthen us to be servants of the high callings of justice, mercy, and humility. Make of us a people flowing with the stream of your Spirit's grace. May our vision be that of a community full of compassion and love, where we treat our brothers and sisters with dignity and honor. May we be drawn into the fullness of life by the Spirit that goes before us.
offer this time of quiet openness, we bring our whole selves. In the name of the one who taught his first disciples to pray the prayer that we now sing together.
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us as we forgive others, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For the kingdom and the power and the glory are yours forever. Amen.
Hi, I'm Sharon Shaw Elrod, and I am here to talk to you this morning about our website. We had it changed about 10 years ago, and in fact, now it is not working very well. It has crashed several times, and the last time it crashed, we were told that it was so unstable that it probably would not survive another crash. So Council decided a couple of months back to get a new website created, transfer all the files, and have something that was more reliable and more stable. So we did that, and it's almost done now. It is very streamlined. It's very mobile friendly. We're going to be able to use it on tablets, computers, laptops, phones, wherever we want to access our church website. We are going to let you know when we have it live on eStreams or Joys and Concerns, so you can kind of stay updated there. We're very excited about this. It is the one way that we can stay in touch with everybody and let you all know what's going on a day-by-day basis. www.weputlovefirst.org. And thank you very much.
Even in the midst of this pandemic, the Fountains continues to put love first, and just since March has touched the lives of literally thousands of people, not just through the online celebrations, discussions, and support groups, but with the coordination of practical and tangible help for our neighbors and for one another. Your generous giving has helped make that possible, but we still need your help. I hope that if you felt inspired, encouraged, or have been given the opportunity to reach out to your neighbor through what we're doing, that you'd make a generous gift toward our continued work. There are all kinds of easy and secure ways for you to donate. You can go to give.weputlovefirst.org, or you can go to our homepage, weputlovefirst.org, and press the blue Donate Here button. Or you can download the Give Plus app on your phone, and always you can drop off a check in the mail. Now more than ever, as we seek to follow Jesus in this increasingly complex reality, the world needs every beacon of unconditional love, theological integrity, and hope that it can get. Your financial support will help us to put love first together. Thank you.
I can change the world with better place with my own two hands. Make a kinder place. Oh, with my own two hands. With my own two hands. Oh, with my own two hands. I can make peace on earth with my own two hands, and I can clean up the earth. Oh, with my own two hands, and I can reach out to you with my own two hands, with my own two hands. Oh, with my own two hands. Gonna make it a brighter place. Gonna make it a safer place. Gonna help the human race with my own two hands. I can change the world with my own two hands. Make a better place with my own two hands. Make a kinder place. Oh, with my own two hands. With my own two hands. Oh, with my own two hands. With my own two hands. With my own two hands. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks because God's given Jesus Christ the Son. And now let the weak say I am strong. Let the poor say I am rich because of what the Lord has done for us. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks to the Holy One. Give thanks because God's given Jesus Christ the Son. Give thanks.
The story in our passage today is in all three synoptic gospels, Mark, Matthew, and Luke. But a careful reading reveals some big differences in each. Mark's version, the earliest, is the longest and is mainly a vehicle for Mark to pit Jesus against the Pharisees. Matthew shortens it and changes the characters up to have a Pharisee asking the question to show up a Sadducee. It's basically the religious equivalent of a Democrat and a Republican. Luke then edits it even more to the point that Jesus doesn't even speak the answer. A lawyer asks Jesus what the greatest commandment is, and Jesus, typical, asks a question back. What do you think? The lawyer, not Jesus, answers the question. While all these inconsistencies might be problematic to literalists, if you look closely, you can see that they all have one thing in common. They all agree that when talking about the greatest commandment, Our charge as people of faith is to love your neighbor as yourself.
Our words of wisdom are from Mark 12, verses 28 through 31. One of the scribes came near and heard them disputing with one another. And seeing that he answered them well, he asked him, "Which commandment is the first of all?" Jesus answered, "The first is, 'Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, and with all your mind and with all your strength.' The second is this, 'You shall love your neighbor as yourself.' There is no other commandment greater than these." Hear what the Spirit is saying to the church. Thanks be to God.
A few years ago, Phoenix was in the path of a not quite total solar eclipse. My kid's school went into hyper liability mode and was on lockdown from 9 a.m. to noon, so there was absolutely no chance of any kids burning out their eyeballs by looking directly at the eclipse. But they also said, if you want to stay home that morning and watch the eclipse, it'll be an excused absence. Maddie was all over it. "Oh, Daddy, 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 please let us stay home. It only happens once every 1,000 years. So I got up my telescope and we set it all up to project the image of the eclipse on a piece of poster board, and it was pretty cool. We got to be all science-y and had a good time. And here's the deal. We were able to make plans ahead of time because astronomers have learned to predict these things. However, in ancient days, an eclipse was more often than not a surprise, and not a welcome one. Some ancient cultures thought the sun was being swallowed by a dragon or otherwise extinguished forever. It's said that on one occasion, warriors took it upon themselves to fire flaming arrows at the sun to try and reignite it, thus setting their own village on fire. Whoops. Let's be honest. Things seem pretty dark these days, too. From white supremacists marching in Charlottesville to Muslim bans to the separation of children from their families at the border to the killing of countless unarmed black people by the police to shootings in churches, synagogues, and mosques to the pandemic. It seems like the last few years have been one seemingly unhinged event after another. And as crisis follows crisis, people have in their own ways been kind of running around like medieval villagers, convinced that the sun has been swallowed up for good. But let me offer this observation. No matter how dark it may seem, as people of faith, we have certain touchstones, call them certainties, to hold on to. I read about a Baptist pastor from Georgia reminding his congregation that Genesis 1 says that all people are made in the image of God. Genesis 4 teaches that we are our brother's keepers, and when human blood is shed, it cries out from the ground to God. Genesis 9 says that there must be an accounting whenever human beings harm or kill each other. And from that rather blunt proclamation, we jump to our passage today, where Jesus is quoting his own Jewish tradition. We are to love our neighbors as ourselves. One of my spiritual mentors, Rabbi Rami Shapiro, points out that a lot of people get this passage wrong. They quote it as, love your neighbor as you love yourself. No. People say, well, I have to work on loving myself before I can love my neighbor. No. That's not what the text says. It says, love your neighbor as yourself. Not as you love yourself. As yourself. As though they are a part of you. Integrated, connected, and one with one another. This means all our neighbors, without regard to race, color, religion, sexual orientation, national origin. As Paul taught, enmities, strife, jealousy, anger, quarrels, dissension, and factions are among the attitudes and actions that are in opposition to the kingdom of God. In the face of all that, Christians throughout history have been a powerful force for human equality, for compassion, justice, love, and belief in the sacredness of every human life. We're called to do no less today. But we've also been a force for the dehumanization and mistreatment of others. Christian civilization and the Christian faith has often been distorted by an unholy religious, racial, civilizational pride. Christian settlers were raised to believe that they were, by God's design, superior to other peoples, such as Africans or Native Americans, and others too, including Jews, who were the object of a long-standing hatred. In the name of Jesus, our forebears subjugated, enslaved, and often killed these others, free to believe and act on the belief that those who were not like them or us were inferior human beings. If you're interested in a column that I wrote back in 2014 on canceling the honors we pay to the corrupt, sex trafficking, slave trading, murdering, sketchy navigator we know as Columbus, you can find the link right below. Our tradition is deeply marred by thousands of years of conquering in Jesus' name, and it behooves us to be a part of those who seek to repudiate this ideology in the name of a different vision, of equality, of justice, and respect for all, for a multiracial society in which all are valued equally. And it won't be easy. As we're finding out, many instances of white supremacy, racism, and hatred go unreported or underreported in many places. People are becoming more conscious of just how big our challenge is. Do you remember who Dietrich Bonhoeffer was? He was a Lutheran pastor in Germany who helped organize what was called the Confessing Church that opposed the Nazis. He helped Jews. He was a pacifist who participated in plans to assassinate Hitler. Near the end of the war, the Nazis arrested him and executed him. Back in 2006, a lot of us were reacquainting ourselves with Bonhoeffer on the occasion of his 100th birthday. Jeff and I were sitting at breakfast discussing what Bonhoeffer quotes we should post online. I wanted to post his most famous quote, paraphrased, "Nazis suck," and other classics. Well, a few minutes later, Jeff was at the cash register and was confronted by a very agitated older white gentleman who had overheard our conversation. He said loudly, "Dietrich Bonhoeffer was a communist and he deserved what he got." Wow. Jeff kind of backed away, said that he didn't agree, and wished him a good day, and we got out of there. Now, that kind of thing has always happened in our communities, churches, business, schools, organizations, and families all across the nation. Every day. It just seems that they're getting to be more blatant of late. It used to be that the white upper middle class bubble that many of us live in protected us. We just didn't see it. We didn't believe it. But it is happening more and more out in the open. It's like a deep gash in the soul of our country and culture. And every time I hear it or see it, I'm reminded that if anyone is going to say something, it's us. It's you and me. What kind of people is the Spirit calling us to be? Martin Niemöller was another prominent Protestant pastor who emerged as an outspoken public foe of Adolf Hitler. For his troubles, he spent the last 7 years of Nazi rule in concentration camps. Today, on the wall of his cell at the Sachsenhausen concentration camp is the quote that he is most known for. First, they came for the socialists. I did not speak out because I wasn't a socialist. And they came for the trade unionists. And I didn't speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak. In the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu's book, The Book of Joy, Archbishop Tutu contrasts optimism and hope. He says, when we watch the news, we must keep a broader, more holistic view. Yes, this or that terrible thing has happened. No doubt there are very negative things, but at the same time, there are many more positive things happening in our world. The news and social media tend not to report on those things. We've got to have a sense of proportion and a wider perspective. Then we will not feel despair when we see these sad things. Hope, the Archbishop points out, is quite different from optimism, which is more superficial and liable to become pessimism when the circumstances change. Hope is something much deeper. Tutu says, I say to people that I am not an optimist because that, in a sense, is something that depends on feelings more than the actual reality. We feel optimistic or we feel pessimistic. Now, hope is different in that it is based not on the ephemerality of feelings, but on the firm ground conviction. Hope is nurtured by relationship, in community, whether that community is the literal one or one we fashion from the long memory of human striving whose membership includes Sojourner Truth, Gandhi, King, Mandela, and countless others. Despair turns us inward. Hope turns us into the arms of others, even if those arms are socially distanced these days. So I'm thinking a good stream of thought for today would be, we choose love. At the Fountains, we've made it clear for years that we believe that racism in all its forms, individual and systemic, is wrong. And that as followers of Jesus, we stand for the biblical values of equality, justice, and respect for all. When Jesus said we need to love our neighbors as ourselves, as part of who we are, we believe he actually meant it. We're interconnected with one another. We made that clear when we voted to become a reconciling community, publicly affirming and welcoming our LGBTQ brothers and sisters. We made that clear when we resisted the smear campaign from other churches claiming that we were fiction, where one pastor even went so far as to say the Fountains was like a virus that needed to be wiped out. We've pulled together and participated in any number of events over the years, like the We Are One Vigil after Charlottesville and the Racial Equity Challenge that we're in the middle of right now. For years, we partnered with Congregation Beth Hagivot, welcoming our Jewish brothers and sisters. We've hosted Buddhist meditation classes and have sponsored literally dozens of interfaith events as part of the Fountain's witness to equality among the faiths as one of our core values. But as every day's news confirms, our work is far from over. I'm reminded that when Tempe's Temple Emmanuel recently inquired of several Tempe churches if they could use their facilities for High Holy Days, they were told flat out that it would be blasphemous to have people of another faith worship in their sanctuary. Fortunately, their next call was to Dayspring United Methodist, where they were welcomed with open arms. Let me be clear. Churches that reject Judaism as a legitimate religion, which sadly is most churches, and disrespect Jews as somehow not as good as Christians, are part of the problem. They allow space for anti-Semitism to grow and thrive. You may have been caught up in it yourself, just by virtue of having grown up in a middle-class, white Christian home. If you somehow think that Christianity is cosmically superior to Judaism and quote John 14:6 at me, I'm happy to diagnose you with a chronic theological problem and would be happy to sit down with you and work out a treatment plan to get you over your anti-Semitism. But let there be no doubt, you have a problem. Likewise, churches and people who reject Islam as a legitimate religion and disrespect Muslims have a problem. Some of you know that Maddie has got me stuck on the social media app TikTok. I am totally enamored of the DIY and cooking feeds, and let's not even get started on my infatuation with Tabitha Brown. But there is a sinister side of TikTok. Case in point are triumphalist Christian influencers like David Ladding, who has nearly 1 million followers and whose TikToks have more than 3 million views. He's part of a long-standing tradition of fundamentalists who, with tears in their eyes, assures you that he doesn't hate you. He's telling you you're burning in hell because he loves you so much. Let me show it to you.
I'm sorry, bro, but no, not even close. See, Muhammad is dead and Jesus is very much alive. I've called out your religion once and I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to do it again. Islam is a lie. And by the way, not all religions have the same goal. I'm coming to you out of love because I truly believe Jesus Christ is the only way to heaven. The only way. Christianity does not line up with any other religion like that. We only believe the only truth is Jesus Christ. Sorry, bro. I love you though, but sorry.
Sorry, bro. I love you, but sorry. You're burning in hell. Oh, good grief. This kind of thing is insidious. A social media influencer who casually damns nearly 2 billion people, 25% of the world's population, and doesn't face any consequences because most people just blow him off. But I need to remind you, he's got nearly 1 million followers. Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself, but this kid makes it really hard to do. Because this is hate speech, plain and simple. But because of our country's robust commitment to freedom of speech, it's allowed to flourish. So we have work to do. In talking with many of you and sensing the kind of zeitgeist out there, it seems that this whole year has been one giant slow motion eclipse where the light of values that we thought were unquestioned are compromised, overshadowed, or outright blotted out. Our challenge is to not panic, to not run around like frightened villagers witnessing a cosmic disaster. My hope is that we as a church and each of us as individuals will not give in to the temptation to curse the darkness, but will take action to continue to be a beacon of the kind of inclusive love that Jesus has taught us, welcoming all and respecting all. In this crazy time of social distancing and frazzled nerves, it's even harder. I get it, but be assured that we make the extra effort to stay calm and stay the course, that the darkness will pass and we'll become stronger for having endured the ordeal. We won't be spooked by the temporary darkness that sweeps over us like an eclipse. We're smarter than that. We know better than to panic. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. often used the phrase, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." That's not actually completely original to him. He paraphrased a more nuanced thought from another one of my theological heroes, Theodore Parker, an influential 19th century Boston transcendentalist and minister in the Unitarian Church. Parker said, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one. My eye reaches but a little ways. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by experience of sight. I can divine it by conscience. And from what I see, I am sure it bends toward justice." Michael Denzel Smith wrote, "King's single sentence is a more tightly wound rhetorical punch, easily deployed for immediate inspiration, but it carries the unintended effect of suggesting that justice is inevitable, so that no matter what we do now, the arc of the moral universe will care for us later." Parker's sermon, however, forces us into a more active role. A more active role. It's not just going to happen by itself. And it's certainly not going to happen if we're running around in a panic. Don't let the temporary darkness scare you. Don't let despair turn you inward. Let determination to put love first strengthen you. Let hope send you into the arms of others. After all, those others are just an extension of you. Love your neighbor as yourself. There is no greater commandment. Be well.
Do not fear to hope, though the wicked rage and rise. Our God sees not as we see. Success is not the prize. Do not fear to hope, for though the night be long, the race shall not be to the swift, the fight not to the strong. Look to God when health demands. We limit physical touch. Know that we can still be there in ways that show we long to love and care so much. Do not fear to hope, though the wicked rage and rise. Our God sees not as we see. Success is not the prize. Do not fear to hope, for though the night be long, the race shall not be to the swift, the fight not to the strong. Look to God when we have failed to stand for justice and right. We've been called to raise our voice, despite the haters scared of those who would unite. Do not fear to hope, though the wicked rage and rise. Our God sees not as we see. Success is not the prize. Do not fear to hope, for though the night be long, the race shall not be to the swift, the fight not to the strong.
As we reach across the physical divide that separates us,
Let us offer these words of blessing to one another.
Spirit of integrity, may we walk humbly as we seek justice and kindness,
Give us clarity to know what is right.
and courage to live with compassion.
Amen.
I can change the world